I am Ajipintu Drame, and this is QTV Midday News coming to you live from our studios along Keraba Avenue, and thanks for joining us. Our top stories. President Barrow has called on supporters to promote decent politics and be receptive to all at an NPP rally at Foni Bondali on Saturday. The Gambia National Internet Governance Forum held its 7th annual forum on Monday as part of efforts to enhance internet governance policy dialogue. A capacity-building training course for CSOs on election reporting, voter information and civic education has commenced at a local hotel in Kololi. A project to plant 1 million trees in the North Bank region was launched by the UNDP, the Gambia Red Cross and its partners. Those were our main headlines, now the news in detail. Now, the National People's Party on Saturday held a political rally at Foni Bondali, where the party's leader, President Barrow, called on supporters to promote decent politics and be receptive to all. Aliu Sise reports.
For over 2 decades, Foni had and continues to be a stronghold of the former ruling Tone opposition party, the APRC. However, it seems the NPP party is gaining ground here if this crowd at the rally in Foni Bondali is anything to go by. Foni is part of the West Coast region, also known as the powerhouse of Gambian elections, with over 300,000 registered voters. The Foni rally comes after the Banjul Youth Rally, organized by the party and graced by President Barrow, Secretary General and leader of the NPP. The rally was also attended by supporters, alcalos and chiefs of the West Coast region, executive members of the party, and some cabinet ministers. For President Adama Barrow, the Foni crowd is a clear demonstration of the readiness of the people of Foni to work with his government for the development of the country. He told the people of Foni that he is a president for all who believe in an all-inclusive development. He encourages the youth of the country to be steadfast and hardworking as not only future leaders but current leaders handling key positions in government. Detractors who want to come in between me and the people of Foni will bow in shame after seeing this crowd, end of quote. According to him, the Foni region is not left behind in this development, citing what he calls feeder roads, women's gardens, and subsidized fertilizer provided to the people. He went further to pledge that many, if not all the communities in Foni, will be electrified by 2023 through the different electricity expansion projects.
Andu sa ko Foni ko le ko jannin 2023 sate wo sate be Foni ko no ngandire ngal promise nyinda president Barrow ba be electrify la al be courant sur la Foni ja.
He was also thankful to the National Assembly members of Foni, who he said, despite belonging to the opposition APRC party, have been very supportive of his development agenda as manifested during parliamentary sessions. Describing the next election as very important, President Barrow said the election is like a referendum as Gambians will vote in what he calls yes or no, translating between progress and retrogress. He shared with the crowd what he says are the many development projects implemented and being implemented across the country, such as the roads and bridges projects in Basse, North Bank region, Central River region, and Banjul, among others. A confident-sounding NPP leader advises the NPP supporters to embark on decent politics and discuss issues to convince people to join the party.
Aletani Allah hakilola. Ale politics senemonati Gambia. Ale issues kan membanke personality.
Ibrahim Silla, Minister of Information and Communications, a strong NPP supporter who also chaired the rally, believes the whole cabinet must be committed to attracting the needed support to give the president a landslide victory in the next election. Hamad Nkeba, Minister of Tourism and Culture, who also doubles as the leader of the NRP party, Ami Fabre, Minister of Agriculture and Secretary of the Women's Wing of the NPP party, Bakari Baji, Minister for Youth and Sports, and Dr. Demba Sabali, Second Deputy National President of NPP, called on their supporters to continue canvassing more support for the party and to be receptive to newcomers, as the lifeblood of any political party is the people.
It means that Foni, it belongs to NPP, and we're going to vote for NPP, inshallah, by 4th of December. Yeah, Foni belongs to President Adama Barrow.
Several other speakers at the rally, including Umar Koli, the chief of Foni Bondali, Aliu Baji, youth representative, Meta Korka, women representative, Lamin Jata, chairman of NPP for West Coast region, and Debo Santam Bojang, president of Council of Elders, West Coast region, advocate peace and unity ahead of the polls, while inviting all Gambians to back the president for what they believe is the unity and development of the country. They appeared confident that NPP will sweep the polls against other parties. The president is scheduled to preside over another political rally next Sunday at Bagadaji in the Jemara district, Upper River region. President Barrow himself hails from Mankamangkunda, also in the same district. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliu Sise.
The Gambia National Internet Governance Forum held its 7th annual forum on Monday as part of efforts to enhance internet governance policy dialogue through a multi-stakeholders national steering committee. Omar P. Jallo tells us more.
The two-day Internet Governance Forum Convergence will help to bring people together from various stakeholder groups as equals in discussions on public policy issues relating to the Internet. The suggested secretariat will be supported by the Ministry of Information and Communication Infrastructure. Although there is no negotiated outcome, the IGF informs and inspires policymakers' power in the public and private sectors. This year's national IGF is organized under the main theme, Digital Inclusion and Access for Resilient Gambia. The meeting also features 4 sub-themes as sessions with panels on accessibility and costs, building a digital economy, the Gambia and the NDP, data protection and privacy in the Gambia, and connecting the unconnected, collaboration and community networks. In her welcoming remarks, the chairperson of the Gambia National Steering Committee, Mrs. Adama Jallo, said having a dialogue to discuss the immediate need to implement policies that ensure inclusion in internet connection, especially during a pandemic where the internet provides an essential link to information to keep our families healthy and safe during this global health crisis, is timely and important.
The internet has become a home to democratic debate and political opinion forming, either for the good or for not so good, in which case it affects everyone, even people with no access to it. Having in mind that the objective is to see how best the Gambia can achieve digital inclusion for all irrespective of where they live, which will lead to discussions on how best to mitigate and solve access, connectivity issues heading into the post-COVID-19 scenario.
In declaring the two-day forum open, the Minister for Information and Communication Infrastructure, Ibrahima Silla, said the Gambia government is committed to digital inclusion and accessibility, reliable and affordable internet services to all Gambians, while calling on participants to contribute to this very important discussion.
The Gambia has been effectively participating at the regional level since the establishment of the West Africa Internet Governance Forum in 2010 in Dakar. The theme for this year's event resonates well with the realities of what the globe has been facing since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the hardship brought by COVID-19, one constant denominator during this pandemic is the critical role of the internet in enhancing the socio-economic development and well-being of our people, as the internet has been the key tool for continued education, business transactions, and meetings, to name a few.
The forum was initiated in late 2009 after the start of the West African Internet Governance Forum, aimed at bringing together participants drawn from national, regional, youth representatives, government, civil society organizations, academia, and the private sector to discuss current and emerging issues to help save the internet in the Gambia. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
A 5-day capacity building training course for CSOs on election reporting, voter information and civic education ahead of the election cycle has commenced at a local hotel in Kololi. The training is supported by International Republic Institute, German Development Agency and partners. Babuka reports.
The training is expected to build their capacity on strategic mobilization of citizens and effective methods of conducting elections ahead of the forthcoming presidential and parliamentary elections. In his opening remarks, the representative of the German Institute, GIST, Samsudin Yusuf, said the training is about sharing ideas with the relevant stakeholders.
Gambia is going through, should I say, a testing period on democracy. And during this transition electoral democratic process, it is very important for civil society to play an important role. And we do not just want to take it just an assumption that we all know what to be done properly. But the most important is for us to have a genuine conversation about what should be done, how should it be done, what are the lessons from other climes where similar interventions have been organized and fully implemented, and how best can we approach our interventions in the Gambia.
Claude Kondo, on behalf of the ECOWAS Permanent Mission, the representative in the Gambia, said the training is important as the country gears up for the crucial electoral cycle.
This training is coming at the right time, hence there is the dire need to build the capacity of election stakeholders for their meaningful engagement and participation in the electoral and democratic processes as the country prepares to conduct the presidential and legislative elections in 2021 and 2022, respectively. I think this initiative is a laudable one, as it is in consonance with the priorities of the country's National Development Plan and the ECOWAS Vision 2050. It is indeed a great initiative to bring CSOs and relevant election actors together, and would therefore be an opportunity for the participants to contribute meaningfully to the discussions and voice out their aspiration, not only for the Gambia, but more importantly for themselves, as we look forward to promoting the conduct of free, fair, transparent, credible, and peaceful presidential and parliamentary elections.
Enya Brown from the European Union office in the Gambia said CSOs have played a key role in shaping the country's democracy, and the EU office is happy to be associated with such a training of stakeholders.
For those of us who were lucky enough to witness the December 2016 elections, it feels like we've all come a long way. Of course, no one has come as long a way as you, representatives of the civil society. Who would have thought 5 years ago that we would have civil society making headlines on a weekly basis in Gambian newspapers and on social media, of course, and on TV. Civil society is shaping the future of this country, and with the hindsight of what it was like before, it's extremely welcome.
It is expected that non-state actors in the pre-training period will be able to effectively carry out their complementary and watchdog responsibilities to promote and conduct transparent, inclusive, credible and peaceful presidential and legislative elections. Babukar Si, QTV News.
From that story, we will go for a short commercial break. Still to come, we have more stories too. Stay tuned.
The best product in town is back. QCell's MiFi router. Get the best MiFi in the country for just $2,800 and connect up to 15 users with 4G internet speeds and a long-lasting battery life. So rush now to any of our customer care locations and get the best for less while stocks last. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Boss, the Gambia's quality network. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. Now, as one of the responses to the climate change crisis in the Gambia, the UNDP and its partners, including the Gambia Red Cross Society, have launched a project to plant 1 million trees in the North Bank region. Modula Minchoy reports.
When rainfall, a windstorm and flash floods hit the Gambia on July 7th this year, it led to at least 12 deaths and devastated the lives of more than 100,000 people, and houses were also destroyed. Such are the consequences of a climate crisis facing our country and the world. In response to this, a UNDP-funded project is being launched in the North Bank region to plant 1 million trees chosen due to the region's vulnerability to climate shocks, according to Dr. Almami Kamara, UNDP's program specialist on environment and resilient development.
We are starting it with the North Bank region as based on studies and observations. The North Bank region is the most affected in terms of climate change. The vegetation cover is sparse, and really when there is erosion or rainfall or whatever, the impact is severe.
The project was launched on Saturday at Suarekunda in the North Bank region, a community that was one of many severely hit by the recent windstorm. In support of its climate change mitigation ambition, the community residents turned out in their numbers. The $200,000 project is targeting 30 communities in the North Bank region, and the Gambia Red Cross Society is an implementing partner. Here is Abdullah Faye, the Programs and Operations Director of the Gambia Red Cross Society.
We have volunteers in every community. One key thing is, first, is to monitor what is happening. So there will be frequent monitoring from the national level down to the regional level to ensure that these trees are well protected, and they will report any case that happens, whether it is bushfire, whether it is people cutting the small trees. All these things will be also documented because we want to know the mortality rate of also the trees.
Aside from that monitoring strategy, the benefiting communities are urged to develop a sense of ownership of the trees for their survival and protection. Community residents and leaders who spoke at the launching event promised to take proactive measures to protect the trees for sustainability. Here is the governor of the North Bank region giving his reassurance.
And we think that the village will take this as their own, take its ownership of the forest and protect it and make sure that the trees that we plant survive. That is the main thing that we are going to advocate after the tree plant.
This project has also supported youth nursery growers in the North Bank region by providing a market for their seedlings. The North Bank region is the source of the million seedlings of 11 different species of trees which were bought from young nursery growers. We heard from the chief of Jokado, Alpha Madam Khan.
You could have bought these seedlings from Nyambai, from everywhere in this country. It is still the same Gambia. But the idea of trying to bring it back to the people of the region, is something that even the nursery growers have been crying. We tell them that it's good to have a nursery management, you can make something out, but they are not having market. But at least this has sparked something.
Protecting the environment is one of the strategic areas of the UNDP. Albeit it is a hugely significant venture, we must not let down our guards, as the consequence of doing so could be a climate catastrophe that is more devastating than the one we are witnessing today. Mahmoud Lamin, QTV News.
Moving on, the introduction of lockdowns and COVID-19 safety measures severely affected the way most sectors had operated for many years. To gauge how the pandemic has affected some of these institutions, Usman Jatta engaged people in diverse sectors. Here is the report.
COVID-19 swept the planet and effectively stopped the way the world operated. Travel restrictions, lockdowns and night curfews became the new trends. These measures made life difficult for most breadwinners who were struggling to sustain their livelihoods. Schools all over the country had to go for a temporary shutdown for more than 6 months. Adama Jimba Job is the Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, outlines the impact of the pandemic on the education sector.
When schools resumed in October of 2020, some classes, particularly in the urban area, schools with big enrollment were forced to downsize their class sizes. And that put a lot of pressure on the ministry in terms of teacher supply, in terms of classroom, in terms of furniture.
PS Job believes that to confront future crises, the education system has to be dynamic and flexible for students.
We can no longer rely on the chalk and the board as you and I were educated. We have to think of how do we reinforce the issue of distance education. How do we make sure that our teachers are trained to be able to use technology to teach.
The sports sector also saw a temporary suspension of all major sport leagues. Ibu Fai is the second vice president of the Gambia Football Federation.
It was tough in the game because our league has to be suspended last year. And this year we were able to manage to complete the league.
With the pandemic showing no signs of leaving anytime soon, Mr. Fai believes there is a need to improve the country's health system. All non-essential businesses were asked to go into a temporary closure. This move has affected several restaurant and guest house managers who relied on their businesses for their livelihood. Lamin Tamba has been running a guest house in Kololi for nearly 2 decades. Here is his take on the matter.
Because since COVID, the first year we didn't could teach for 1 year. The second year,
the emergence of COVID-19 saw a temporary closure of my business for nearly a year. The following year, I evaluated the condition of my guest house, and after the assessment, I concluded that I have to open for business. Upon reopening, I reduced the number of my staff from cleaners to the security guards to cope with the impact of the pandemic.
To assist families who are going through tough times, the government provided stimulus packages to 85% of vulnerable families across the country. On 26 August, case numbers on the Health Ministry's website reveals that the country now had 309 deaths, 9,470 positive cases, and 9,049 recoveries. As the country experiences a third wave of the Delta variant, most people have begun discovering new ways of moving on with life and business. Osman Jatta, QTV News.
The PRO of the Floriculture Association of the Gambia has revealed that lack of tourists caused by the coronavirus pandemic has negatively impacted the flower business. Abibatu Sise spoke to the PRO of the association, and this is her report.
Blossoming flowers play an important role in beautifying the environment and gives pleasure to people who crave a connection with nature. They add color and fragrance to enhance emotional well-being and attracts insects for pollination. In the Gambia, the Floriculture Association promotes the interests of those dealing in flowers and ornamental plants as a source of income. Like other businesses in the country, the PRO of the Floriculture Association of the Gambia, Mumini Balde, says COVID-19 has affected their business. He added that most of their customers are tourists, and the restriction and closure of the tourist season has greatly affected them.
This year, we don't have clients compared to previous years. Look at these avocado plants. They would not have been here at this time of the year, but because sales have dropped, they have not been sold.
Piero Balde reveals that he has been in the flower business for 20 years. The proceeds from his business is what he uses to feed his family, he added. He further stated that they not only sell ornamental plants like flowers, but also sell medication and fruit plants. He then explains the importance of plants.
The benefits of plants are numerous. For example, you can have butter from the avocado plant and orange juice from the orange plant. You can also use the leaves of some plants for medication, like the aloe vera, which can be used to treat pimples. And even drinking the jelly is good.
Piero Balde says he has 12 youth working with him and urges Gambian youth to engage in agriculture because not everyone can be employed in the formal sector.
Let them participate in the sector, agriculture sector, whether it's ornamental plant or fruit plant or medication plant or vegetable, will prove better life.
According to Balde, their challenges include water shortage, especially during the dry season. Tourism is one of the hardest hit by the pandemic due to the travel restrictions globally. For now, until help comes their way, informal businesses like these flower sellers have to endure with what almost all other businesses are facing. This is the negative impact of the coronavirus pandemic. For QTV News, I am Abibatu Sise.
Before we end, here's a recap of our main headlines. President Barrow has called on supporters to promote decent politics and be receptive to all at an NPP rally at Foni Bondali on Saturday. The Gambia National Internet Governance Forum held its 7th annual forum on Monday as part of efforts to enhance internet governance policy dialogue. A capacity-building training course for CSOs in election reporting, voter information and civic education has commenced at a local hotel in Kololi. A project to plant 1 million trees in the North Bank region was launched by the UNDP, the Gambia Red Cross and its partners. Well, that's it from me in today's Midday News. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.